For 2026, the KTR2, with its Dimensity 7303-2 screen, is the first Android handheld I'm showcasing. Honestly, I never thought I'd get my hands on this device. I borrowed 2 handhelds from Old Moo, the guy behind this machine, to test their cooling. When I returned them, I came back with 3, so I just have to check this out. But rest assured, even though this machine just kind of appeared, the video content hasn't been changed by anyone. I won't leave out any of its pros or cons, everything I say is truly my own thoughts. Today, let's explore together how the gaming experience on this 2-year delayed KTR2 truly holds up. First, let's look at the appearance. I think Old Moo must have sent me an early prototype because the packaging is still for the KTR one. Let's look at the handheld. The KTR2 boasts 4x3 and 3x2 screen ratios, 3 storage options, 5 colors, 2 button layouts, 3 materials, and 2 network choices. That's 2x, 3x, 5x, 2x, 3x2, or 360 configurations. Clearly not all can be produced, so there are choice limitations. I have the 8 plus 256GB 3:2 screen red magnesium alloy model with top joystick. If it were my choice, I'd pick the symmetrical layout with the D-pad on top. It's better for retro games than the PSP claw grip. First, the screen. It's 4.5 inches with a 1620x1080 resolution, offering good display and flicker-free brightness. However, as it's the same screen as the KTR1 and AYANEO Pocket Ace, some light bleed is present and it appears quite severe. You can't really tell when you're playing games though. We've discussed the advantages of this 3:2 aspect ratio screen, which falls between 4:3 and 16:9 in previous videos. It can flawlessly run retro games with both 4:3 and 16:9 aspect ratios, such as PS2 and PSP titles, displaying very minimal black bars. It doesn't look odd, even without using screen overlays. This is one of the key factors that makes it an all-around retro powerhouse. Then, the joysticks and buttons. Mine has an asymmetrical stick. Its buttons, originally Xbox layout, I swapped for Nintendo's ABXY. This setup is clearly better for retro gaming. The KTR's buttons are incredibly soft. The ABXY and D-pad's conductive pads are so soft, even softer than the Odin 2 Mini and AYANEO Pocket Air Mini, which had the softest buttons I'd ever felt. The 4 shoulder buttons are also very light to press and make almost no sound. Some might really like these buttons, they are effortless to press and easy on the hands. Some find very soft conductive pads lack clear feedback, not satisfying. It's just a matter of preference. The shoulder buttons are side by side, no analog triggers, fitting its retro handheld role. The recommended grip has fingertips on L2-R2, and your second knuckle rotates L1-R1, minimizing movement, making it comfy with no accidental presses. As for the D-pad, it uses a disc design. You have to apply some force to roll from one of the 4 main directions to trigger a diagonal, so you basically won't get accidental inputs. Directly pressing diagonally works perfectly, so there aren't any problems with controlling it. For the other buttons, up top are 2 S buttons, in the middle are the Android home and back buttons, above that are the power and volume buttons, plus a microphone and the heat vent. The speakers are on the front, bottom, left, and right. Down below is the unfinished TF card slot, a 3.5mm jack, a Type-C port that doesn't support video out, and a second microphone. Then on the back, here's the air intake, and on the sides, there's a grip design with a very slight bump. In Black Monkey's words, it offers a slight improvement to the grip's feel, but the material on these 2 parts of the handle doesn't provide any anti-slip effect. And if the metal device rubs against the desk, I'd probably worry more about my desk than the handheld itself, but it would certainly be much better if it had some non-slip feet. The device's overall aesthetic is decent, but I'm curious what you all think. As for build quality, I don't see the point in evaluating it yet. Many components on the device are clearly test parts, not final production, especially that large green board inside. Let's wait for the mass-produced version. Next up is the game testing phase. I'm especially curious to see the emulation performance of the Dimensity 7300 chip, since this is its first appearance on a handheld. So to make sure my testing was thorough, I stayed up all night and beat the main story of God of War 2 on PS2 with this KTR. It's been ages since I gamed all night, and while I can't really pull an all-nighter anymore, it took me back to the time I'd secretly play God of War 1 and 2 on my PS Vita under the covers, wanting to scream from the buggy port but couldn't make a sound. That's probably one of the reasons a fair number of people will buy a device like this, because you can always more or less recall old gaming memories you shared with a handheld console. I got sidetracked. Back to the conclusion. For PS2's God of War 2, the Dimensity 7300 enables 130% EE cycle rate and mild EE cycle skip, achieving 55 to 60 FPS in most scenes at 2x resolution. In demanding scenes like the Colossus battle at the beginning and later the Phoenix and Kraken fights, it runs at 45 to 55 FPS at 1.5x resolution. With that performance, the entire game is completely playable. Plus, at 284 grams, it's not super light, but it's definitely not heavy for a metal device. It even packs a huge 6900 mAh battery. How'd they fit that in? The device itself is quite portable, and holding it for a long time isn't tiring. Gaming experience is way better than G90T and T820, but it's no Snapdragon 865 where you can mindlessly set it to 2x. Performance and compatibility limited after all. But even on the same platform, different games require different levels of performance to emulate. God of War 2 is a pretty extreme example. Many other PS2 games like Resident Evil 4 or Monster Hunter 2 can run smoothly at a full frame rate at 2x or even 3x resolution without any special settings. It's very comfortable. Here's a little settings trick. You see, during the PS2 era, TVS often experienced display shifting due to aging, so most games avoided placing critical elements in the screen's corners. Thus, in the graphic settings, we can appropriately enlarge the top and bottom screen crop. This allows for much narrower black bars in PS2 games without losing any game information or altering the display ratio, and it works exceptionally well. Now let's look at how it emulates older retro games. Here, we don't have to worry about performance bottlenecks. For front-end and filters, since config packs for same resolution handhelds are universal, I just installed AYANEO Pocket Ace's custom Pegasus pack. For FC and GBC games, which have an almost square aspect ratio, a light reflection overlay, and filters can be paired for a really good gaming experience. GBA games are a strong point for 3:2 screen handhelds. Even though the 1620 by 1080 resolution is 6.75 times the original 240 by 160, the aspect ratio is perfect, and at over 4 times resolution, pixel-perfect scaling isn't really necessary. You won't see a difference. Then there's a 16:9 platform like the PSP, which also looks pretty good on a 3:2 screen. I apply 4x resolution screen filters, PS, P-Color, and Unreal 4A SSET tone mapping. Monster Hunter Portable 3rd runs at 30 frames per second with red frame buffers to memory enabled. The two God of War PSP games also run at a stable 60 FPS with the same settings. The performance for PSP gaming is more than sufficient, but for action games, a convex joystick cap would be more comfortable. I always feel like I can't fully depress the stick. Another classic 16:9 gaming scenario is streaming, but the Dimensity 7300 isn't great for it. At 720p 60 FPS, decode latency is over 15 milliseconds, making it less ideal for streaming. Now that we've covered game performance, let's briefly compare the KTR2 with similar Android handhelds, AYANEO's Pocket Air Mini and Pocket Ace, Yogo's RG476H, and Shandian's RP Mini V2. After all, they all have roughly a 4:3 aspect ratio and all claim to be the new retro benchmark. The G90T's performance is low, and 2 to 3 GB RAM for Android and AYANEO's front end is laggy, but it's also the cheapest. If you only play retro games and skip PS2/3DS, it's suitable. Then there's the 476 and the RP Mini V2. I think the KTR is positioned as a more versatile middle ground between them. The PS2 display might not be as good as the 476, but its performance is much better. While it won't beat the RP Mini V2's 865, you won't get those massive 8 to 7 black bars when playing PSP, right? As for the Pocket Ace, which also has a 3:2 screen, I see it as a higher-end alternative to the KTR. Even old Moo himself, when first seeing the Ace unveiled, exclaimed, "Hey, that's my screen, that's my machine, how did Ioneo manage to get it out before me?" However, the Ace's price tag is also almost twice that of the KTR. If you're only playing retro games, the Ace's G3X is clearly overkill. The Dimensity 7300 is already enough to cover most retro needs like PS2, GameCube, and Vita, so these two machines really do target different needs. After all, who doesn't consider budget when buying a device? Okay, it's time for a summary. First, I think the KTR has chosen a clever positioning. It inherits the 3:2 aspect ratio screen from the KTR1 and uses a Dimensity 7300, which is powerful enough for most retro emulation. This gives it a price advantage over the Ace. And the KTR has one amazing feature: it's cooling. Although the magnesium alloy shell can make it a bit of a heat trap, even under full load while charging, it only gets warm, nowhere near hot to the touch. More importantly, the fan is almost silent. I'm filming the exhaust vent from this distance, and the background hum is actually my bathroom fan. If I walk over and turn it off, it's gone. But I'm wondering, does this also mean the Dimensity 7300 isn't reaching its full potential? While it's likely fine for being an all-around retro mini powerhouse, it's a bit of a shame it just misses running God of War 2 at 1.75x speed or playing 3DS's Monster Hunter XX at 2x 60 frames per second with shadows. And honestly, my biggest worry is that even though the device is cleverly positioned and doesn't have any significant flaws, I'm just not very confident in Moo's production efficiency, especially given that the KOS front-end system, which was previewed 2 years ago, still hasn't been installed on my unit. With less than a month left until it's supposed to ship, can they really keep up with that kind of pace? The KTR2 truly possesses the potential to be a comprehensive 1000 yuan retro powerhouse. The rest really depends on Moo's efforts. So that's it for this KTR review video. If you liked it, please subscribe.